Everyone said this land was trash until wild horses took it personally. Fences destroyed, trucks surrounded, and a war nobody saw coming. This true story will blow your mind. Nobody laughed louder than the real estate guys when he bought that land. Not even joking full-on belly laughs, spit-take laughs. One dude almost choked on his gas station coffee. Because who in their right mind drops their last savings on a stretch of dead? Mosquito-infested Swampland in the middle of nowhere, USA? A place where even Google Maps hesitated. A place locals called God's mistake. But he bought it anyway. For pennies. Literal pennies compared to what land costs these days. While everyone else was flipping condos and chasing crypto dreams. This guy signed papers on a folding table under a buzzing, fluorescent light and walked out owning thousands of acres of useless swamp. Or so they thought. What nobody knew, what nobody could have predicted was that this land already had residents, and they weren't human. The first sign came at dawn. He was out there alone, boots sinking into black mud, the air thick with fog and the sound of insects screaming like they were getting paid overtime. That's when he heard it. Who's heavy ones? Not deer, not cattle. Something bigger, wilder. Then they emerged from the mist. Wild Mustangs. Not a couple. Not a small herd. We're talking dozens. Massive, muscular, scarred-up horses with eyes that looked straight through him like he was nothing. Like he'd just stepped onto sacred ground. These weren't movie horses. These were survival machines. Descendants of legends. Animals that had outrun bullets, droughts, ranchers, and extinction itself. And now, somehow, they had claimed the swamp as their last stand. He froze. Anyone with half a brain would have run. But he didn't. Something about that moment locked him in place. The lead stallion stepped forward, nostrils flaring, mud dripping from its mane like war paint. That's when the war started. Not with violence, not yet. With defiance. Over the next few weeks, his life turned into a straight-up survival documentary. Every fence he put up, torn down. Every trail he cleared, destroyed overnight. Equipment vanished. Storage sheds smashed. It was like the land itself was rejecting him. Neighbors started whispering. Old-timers at the diner shook their heads and said stuff like, "Told you that place was cursed." Then things escalated. One morning, he found his truck surrounded. Mud splattered across the hood. Hoof prints everywhere. Deep ones, intentional ones. The Mustangs weren't just defending territory, they were sending messages. And then came the agencies. Government trucks. Wildlife officials. Clipboards. Bad attitudes. They said the Mustangs were a problem. Overpopulation. Environmental damage. The usual corporate buzzwords. Their solution. Capture them. Relocate them. Sell them. Or worse. That's when the guy snapped. Something inside him flipped. He'd bought this land to disappear, to start over, to breathe. And now the same system that laughed at him wanted to erase the only real thing he'd found out there. So he did something crazy. Something nobody expected. He sided with the horses. He started documenting everything. Filming the herds at sunrise. Showing the scars. The family bonds. The way the foals stayed tied to their mothers. He posted videos online with shaky captions like they were here first. And this land shows them. The internet went nuclear. People from Texas to New York were suddenly emotionally invested in a swamp they'd never heard of. Celebrities were shared. Activists showed up. Journalists camped outside his gate. And the Mustangs, they noticed. This is the part that sounds fake, but it isn't. The horses stopped, destroying his stuff. They watched him from a distance, like they were evaluating him, testing him. One night, a wildfire broke out nearby. Winds pushed flames straight toward the swamp. Emergency crews couldn't reach it in time. Everyone assumed the land was toast, except the Mustangs didn't run. They moved as one. They stampeded through the swamp. carving fire breaks with their hooves, crushing dry brush, redirecting the flames just enough to save the core of the land. Firefighters later admitted they'd never seen anything like it. That moment sealed it. The narrative flipped overnight. Headlines changed. Dangerous wild horses became living firefighters. The government backed off, at least publicly. Donations poured in. Conservation groups stepped up. And the land? That worthless swamp turned into one of the most biologically valuable preserves in the region. Water filtered naturally. Birds returned. Fish populations exploded. The ecosystem healed like it had been waiting for permission. He didn't get rich the way the real estate guys did. He got something better, purpose. Today, he still lives out there. No fancy mansion. Just a modest home on stilts, surrounded by fog, frogs, and freedom. The Mustangs still roam, untamed, unbroken. Sometimes, at dawn, the lead stallion stands on a rise overlooking the land, watching, guarding, like a general who knows the war was never really about territory. It was about respect, and the wild one. If you think this story was insane, wait till you realize it's happening all over America right now. Land everyone ignores. Animals everyone underestimates. People everyone laughs at until it's too late. Because sometimes the cheapest land costs the most courage. And sometimes the wild fights back. And when it does, you better be ready.